So this Kenmore room humidifier has been acting up lately. It's quite a few years old, but it's worked well over the years. And the problem is when it's been turned off for a while, like a day or so, I turn on the switch and the fan often doesn't come on. It's like there's too much friction, or so I did remove this cover here, and sometimes I have to get the fan going by hand once I turn it on. Let's see if it turns on at all here. See, nothing's happening. It's trying to turn, and then finally it does sometimes turn on, or else it doesn't until I spin it by hand, which you shouldn't have to do. So I'm going to open this thing up and see if there's some buildup of dirt or around the motor shaft or something that's causing that. Oh, if you're wondering how this slotted cover comes off, you can see that it just snaps in there. This lip is a little raised around the edge there, and this just pops into these tabs around here. So you have to pry it off the first time, but I just left it kind of loose on here because I was having to open it up quite often. Okay, so I've got this humidifier, the main part of it, down on my bench here to see what's wrong with it. I removed this slotted cover just by prying it off a little bit gently, and then I removed this fan. It's friction on the shaft, and it required a little pulling, but then once I got it off, you can see it's just got a little spring clip around the plastic fitting there of the fan that just slips over the motor shaft. There's no screw or set screw or anything like that. And then I removed these two screws here. I've already loosened them, and then this little plastic cover just sort of pivots off of here. If you pull it straight up, it's got a tab that fits under in a hole or slot under there, and then this just lifts off. Now we can see the motor here. I'm going to plug in the fan now that I've plugged it in, and see if this motor's turning or not when I turn the switch on. So here's the front of it. If I turn it, nothing's happening. Maybe because I need to turn. This is turned all the way up, so the motor should be turning right now, but it's not. You can hear a little faint hum when I turn the switch here. You'll hear but it's not turning. So if I were to turn this, it doesn't want to turn. There's some friction here, so I'm going to have to open up this motor shaft mount here. Okay, continuing this story, this saga, I couldn't get this motor out of here easily, so I did remove these two screws, but then I heard a nut underneath there drop down, and I realized, oh, you can't you shouldn't do it that way. Really, this motor has to be pulled straight out first. And so I did that. What I did was I got a little piece of sort of stiff wire here with a hook on it. I made a little hook on this wire, and I fished it down alongside the motor, and eventually I was able to pull straight up on it and get it up out of this plastic housing. And it's just friction in there, and you'll see here when I pull it out, it's just pushed into that plastic, sort of a snug fit there. I've actually put these nuts back on. These two nuts on the bottom here fell off, and the little lock washers that are behind them, these two fell down into this cup under here. But I've actually put that back together just to show you what it would look like when you take the motor straight out of here. Now, of course, it's still got the wires attached here, so I'm not going to mess with those wires. But what I am going to do is now take these screws out and see why this motor shaft is bound up here. So I removed those two screws and the nuts and lock washers behind them, and now this plate can come straight off the shaft here. We'll see what's in here. So it looks like this. There's a bearing there, brass or bronze, I guess bronze bearing. Maybe that's dirty. We'll clean that off. And then there's probably another bearing down here at on the other end. So here's the armature. Here it is, and here's the other bearing on the back side. The rotor, and it feels like right now that there's a lot of friction here when I try to turn this. So it seems like the problem lies with this bottom bearing here. I can take this out, and that's what it looks like. Another bronze bearing down there. It looks like it's a bit dirty. There's a bit of dirt in here. I'm just going to clean all that off with a Q-tip with some alcohol and see if it'll turn easier then. I'll put the camera down to do that though.